All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to this seminar about creating Redwood user experiences with Oracle Visual Builder. That's a very special seminar for us. It's one of the big enhancements that we added around Visual Builder and something we've been working on for the past couple of years. My name is Shai Schmelzer. Today with me is Lynn Mansinger and Blaine Carter. We are all here to explain what Redwood is and show you how you can use Redwood in Visual Builder. Couple of weeks ago at Cloud World, we announced Redwood. Lynn, can you move the one slide forward? And Redwood was part of the key announcement at Oracle Cloud World. It was announced as part of the keynote for the Oracle applications by Steve Miranda. And it was announced as part of what we call the Oracle Application Platform, which is something that is now available for every Oracle application customer. And that's basically a set of functionality that we use at Oracle to build our Fusion Cloud application. So if we look at the next slide, that would be the actual slide that Steve showed in his session. And it talks about Redwood and the various components that make up Redwood. In today's session, we're going to focus on two key parts here, the low code part, okay, and the UX building blocks. The low code is, of course, Visual Builder, and the building blocks is what we're going to focus this session on and talk about how we can use it. So I'm going to stop talking now and pass it over to Lynn, who will give you an introduction to Redwood. Go ahead, Lynn.
Thanks, Shay. So I'm going to go back to the beginning here. Maybe I can't get back there. There we go. Yeah, so I'm Lynn, and I look after the Redwood design system, and I was very happy to see a few familiar names in the participants list. So hey, friends. I have a really fun job at Oracle. I am working with my team to build these Redwood components and templates that enable application developers like yourselves to build best-in-class applications, not best for enterprise apps, but best in class overall, meaning that consumer grade, we say consumer grade design for the enterprise, right? Meaning that it should be as easy to file your expense reports as it is to book an Uber, right? So Oracle's making this huge investment into the user experience for all types of users across all Oracle software. So as Shai mentioned, Redwood is the name of that design system. Redwood is a design-led movement at Oracle, not designer-led, but design-led. And so with this, Oracle's creating products and solutions and services that make our customers feel good about using our software, right? Not normally something we associate with Oracle software, but that's what we're doing. So whether it's an enterprise application or a development tool like Visual Builder, we're delivering that Redwood design system via this Oracle Apps platform that we mentioned. So again, as Shai said, last month at Cloud World, we released this Oracle Applications Platform. Some people will shortcut it and call it the Redwood platform, but Larry wanted to make it Applications Platform, and that's what enables Redwood design. So there's over 1,000 people building the Oracle Applications Platform, and most of us don't have designer in our title, but we're working to ensure that the entire platform, not just the colors you use on the UI, right? Not just the very top veneer, but the services, the tooling, the telemetry, all the way down to the plumbing, all of it's designed so that people feel like it was made for them. Not that people are going to wake up in the morning and think, oh, I can't wait to file my expense reports, or can't wait to build a new VB page in our application today, but that those users feel heard, right? They feel like it's an enjoyable experience, or maybe even delightful to use. So we're making this platform available for everyone. That's what this webinar is all about. Some of our competitors will say they make their platform available for customers, but they really don't. They give their customers typically only a subset of the functionality and kind of keep the rest to themselves. And Oracle's taking a different approach. We're just being totally transparent. So you get the same platform that we use to build our own application. So you're actually part of this movement, especially those of you in the poll who said you were already using Redwood. You can give us feedback and help us make it better for everyone. So here's the components of the platform. There's UX components for building the UI, or when the best UI is no UI at all, conversational experiences. And there's no reason that enterprise search has to be awful. It can be as good as commercial search, data visualizations, telemetry, business logic, again, all part of the same cohesive platform designed to work together. So I just want to take a step back and think about this. Like, why would Oracle be making this investment? Why would we do this, right? So if you think about other design systems, they give you all the little parts. If you're a Lego fan, these are like the little tiny Lego bricks. And then they also give you heaps of documentation on how to use those things together. But if you're a fan of Lego, you know that after a while, when you're building with it, you start to recognize patterns, right? You're building like a car vehicle, and you recognize like, oh, I've got this little piece from the kit. I'm probably going to be putting this piece on the front, and that's going to create the headlights, or this little piece with the ball joint thing, that's going to go in the back and create a trailer hitch, or whatever it might be, right? So you start to recognize these patterns, and that makes it easier to understand how you're going to be building. And that's how most design systems work. You get lots of little parts and lots of instructions on how to assemble them. But Redwood, because it's strategic, it goes beyond that. It's not just for you application developers outside Oracle, but we have thousands of application developers inside Oracle, right? Across Fusion Apps, NetSuite, the global business units. And Larry and Safra are sponsoring this UX design investment to a point, but they're not going to allow us to hire like designer and developer for every single page so that we can craft bespoke experiences, right? Because we know we have patterns. So the only way to scale at this size is to componentize, to fuse together multiple Lego bricks and then componentize again and create larger patterns and help designers and developers like use the largest pieces possible to assemble pages. We don't need organizations across Oracle spending heaps of design and developer resources all working out like how to display a list view in an accessible way that's responsive, right? Instead, that's what the design system provides. Wherever we have a pattern, and let's face it, after 30 plus years of developing enterprise web applications, Oracle's good at identifying these enterprise app patterns. We create a pre-assembled composite component, maybe a table with a toolbar to take actions, or an entire page pattern with search results displayed in a list or a table, whatever you have that's, again, responsive to any screen size, with accessibility built in so that anyone can use it, and telemetry built in so that you, the application developer, can see how your customers are using the page. So basically, like in the Lego example, like the entire chassis of the Lego car comes assembled, and it has, doors and a trunk and a hood, and you configure and add accessories to it. And that's what we're doing. We ship the whole pattern, you wire up your app services, and that kind of puts the engine in the car, and away you go, right? I was actually checking the new version of Google's design system, and in the new version, I can see like evidence that they're going a half a step toward kind of componentizing some of their design, but there's still pages and pages of documentation. And if you want to understand how to make a list item accessible, for example, so a person using a screen reader or a person that doesn't use a mouse can actually use the thing, they point you to another document that's actually hasn't even been published yet. The prior version of it was pages long. And so for now, you have to figure out yourself. And I just think, we've come to a point where we can recognize these patterns, and even well-meaning developers are going to get things wrong if, you don't spend the time to read through a 20-page document. Like, let's just do it better, right? Like, List View just should infuse these best practices, including accessibility, responsiveness, extensibility, all that, and be built in to the component so that developers just make sure the service that returns the correct data to the list is as performant as can be, and we don't have to spend a lot of time like reinventing. So I'm going to fly through some screenshots here of some various designs that are part of applications that are coming from Redwood. I'm not going to drill into each one, but I think you'll be able to see, like, we're proud of what this design system is enabling us to do and what it enables our partners and customers to do. Like I said, all of this is built on this single unified platform, creating this really differentiated user experience. And as the design evolves, you will get to take advantage of those changes, right? Designers going to design. They're going to keep iterating. So most changes will be seamless and they won't require you to do anything. Like, we're going to change the color strip in the header at some point in the next year, but you won't have to touch a line of code to get that. You'll just get it automatically. Some of these changes will be additive. Well, there'll be an additional property you can set or additional API that you can use, but we are not going to break your code. We are definitely adding APIs and components all the time, but we don't change existing APIs. So the system keeps evolving and getting better, and the alternatives to this look and feel clunky and dated and static. So we said that you can use this. The main resource for all of this is at the Rock, we call it. That's redwood.oracle.com. And on the Rock, this is the external site for all of Redwood. And from here, you can find out lots about the design system and the platform. We have the Ask Oracle as our launch point for our global menu, if you will, for all Redwood apps. And if I go into Ask Oracle and drill into Redwood Reference App, this is where you can see our reference application for all of Redwood. And the reference application is not magic. It uses all the same standard components from the toolkit. This is available externally. And so I'll just pull this up and you can see a little bit about the RRA. I'll just give you a little tour and then you can take it for a spin yourself. So here's the RRA. The scenario here is that the user is an order clerk who receives order requests over the phone or by, I don't know, purchase orders coming in through email or whatever. And so they work for the company that is selling these goods, and their job is to enter order details into the application on behalf of the customer. So this page we're looking at here is a welcome page template. It's using something called object cards. I built these about a year ago. We are now, or no, I built them about 2.5, 3 years ago. We're now doing another iteration through these to improve them and also make them more performant. And again, you're just like getting that for free. You won't have to uptake anything special here if you've been using object cards. There's also this in-app nav bar that's part of this overall pattern. And so I can go in, for example, into orders. And now the clerk is in this search page. This is using a search page pattern, right? So there's accessible list items in here that include these badges and details about the order and inline row actions. I could just start typing into this search. Here I could type and look for Eva orders, if that's who I happen to be speaking with, or I could use the suggested filters to maybe search by a certain time frame. And again, this is just part of this search component built into this page template. So if I drill into the details, for an order, I can see another page pattern here. This is like a general overview, right? When you need to look at an object and its related items, you might use this type of a page template. A back button is built in, which is really nice. And if I go in and look at a an order that's draft, let's say, and then I can go change that. Oh, I'm still looking here. This is my, uh-oh, I've had a bug. I found a bug. Come on, Eva. Well, anyway, I can go in and clear this out and view those orders. I can also go in and head into the inventory. And then I can see, okay, what do I want to take a look at here? Maybe smartwatches. I drill in, and this is using this kind of fold out layout. It's called, this is another pattern that we have for this very like brochure like layout. And if I just change the screen size, let me just do that. So you can see this is responsive and always gives me this kind of horizontal scrolling view. And when I drop to the smallest screen size, it stacks so that I get the best experience on a mobile device. You can see the in-app nav also went down to this responsive sizing. So this again are all the example pages in RRA that you might use to kind of get inspired about how to use Redwood in your applications. And we're working on making this code available externally. The runtime's available externally, but we're working on making the code available. So stay tuned to the Redwood forum for more information on when you'll be able to pull that app just right into VB Design Time so that you can tinker with it there. So speaking of the VB Design Time, I think I'll turn it over to Shay and he can show you how you can build applications on the Oracle application platform using Redwood components.
Thanks, Lynn. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can use this functionality today in your development effort. So let me share my screen and we'll start from here. Great. Just a second. Like that. Okay, so Redwood is basically built in today into Visual Builder. So a lot of you are already using the Redwood look and feel or the Redwood theme for your Oracle Jet component. That's have been the default theme for several releases already. And I'll mention it again, if you're currently on the Alta look and feel, we really recommend that you would move over to the Redwood base UI. It's not just that you have new components and new capabilities, now you have all those new Redwood templates and subcomponents and composite components, okay? One of the things you can do is build extensions to Oracle Cloud Apps, right? So for the Oracle Fusion Cloud Apps, as you probably know, you can now create extensions directly from Fusion Apps. You go over in Fusion Apps, you invoke Visual Builder, and then you can create what we call the App UI style of extensions. The Redwood components are actually built into this environment. So the App UI extension, the minute that you create one, it's already configured with everything that you need in order to work with the Redwood components. It would have the right skins applied, the right look and feel. It would have this navigation bar at the top, the Fusion navigation bar. And then you can just drag and drop components into the page and use them. And by the way, if you don't see those components in the exchange, you can just, so in the component palette, you can go over to the component exchange and click to install those components. So this is what every customer that is building extensions to Oracle SaaS would get. If you're building bespoke Visual Builder apps, one of the things that you might have noticed over the past couple of weeks is that when you create a new application, there's now a new template that you can choose, which is called the Redwood Starter application. Okay, so this is basically when you click new application, it's one of the options there. And if you choose that option, we are basically setting up an application that is set up to use Redwood. So it has the setup that is needed in the required JS aspects and in the JavaScript file for the application. It also has all the components already available for you in the component palette. And it also creates a situation where when you click new application or new page, it creates an empty page that is configured for this Redwood. Okay. What we put out there is the first version of this template. We are working on adding more functionality and more capabilities in there. So two things you might want to do in the meantime when you create this application with this template is you might want to add some navigation aspect to your application. Like in Fusion Apps, we have this top bar where we have navigation. We also have a built-in navigation component called in-app navigation, which you can use, and you can add those to the shell page. And the other thing that you might want to add is handling of messages and errors and stuff like that. So when you do a fire notification event in Visual Builder, you might want to show it in specific ways. We have a video and a blog that shows how to do this in one of the ways. Okay. Then you can start working with the components. And again, there's a lot of components for you to get familiar with. We're going to cover some of them in the demo today, just to give you a feel of how you start working with the components. But there are three main sources for you to learn about the components. So the first one is, of course, redwood.oracle.com. There's a section there that has details about each one of the components, including the design for those and how it's supposed to be used and in what cases it is supposed to be used. The other way is to go and look at the Redwood Reference application, and this would give you ideas of how your application is supposed to look, how different page templates look, and what's the overall flow of an application. And the other detailed place where you can get information about the components is if you click on a component in the component exchange, you would see information about it, including kind of a documentation about the components and how to use it. So let me show you how this thing looks like. I'm going to switch over to Visual Builder over here. And I created an application basically based on the empty template. Into my root page, I also added into the shell page handling of the error messages. So again, that's kind of simple. You add a type and a variable to manage your messages, and then just one action chain and event to handle those messages. And then you would see that all the components are available here. If you go into the exchange, you can find the Redwood components in here. Again, they are mixed with other components. So one way of finding the Redwood components is you can look for SP-. Those are the components that are Redwood, and you can see there's a lot of them. And as I scroll, it's going to bring more and more of them. For each one of those components, for example, if you look at the list item template, if you click on it, you'll see a full set of information that explains how to use the component. So it explains what it does, the layout, the action, responsiveness, performance, and then how to use it, step-by-step information about how to use it, the various variables and things that you can set in there. So this is an excellent place for you to get in-depth knowledge about the components. Some components would also have sections where we explain the APIs, so all sorts of variables and things like that that we're using, events, methods, slots, all of this is available for you in the documentation that is part of our component exchange. Okay. In any case, once you create an application, again, with the template, you're going to get an empty page where you can start developing your application. And what I'm going to build is I'm going to build a little employee department type of application. And I'm going to use some of the components that are inside here in the Redwood set of components. So usually when you start building a page, you're going to start with one of our page template or the page template patterns. And again, you can see we have multiple of those over here, and you're going to see more and more of those appearing over here. I think right now we have about 12 templates that are available for you as a customer. And a lot of our application starts with the welcome page template. So you drag and drop it over here. Once you drop the component on the page, you're going to see in the all, you're going to see a lot of properties that you can set for this template. Okay. one of the mandatory properties is the page title. Okay, so we can call this, for example, our HR application. And when you put it here, it's going to appear on the title over here. You can also add a small description, application for our HCM team, something like that. And there's also a place for you, for example, to add an illustration over here. So you can point to an image and it would show up over here. And again, if you have looked at things like what Lynn just showed you, the Redwood Reference App, this is how it starts, right? You see all the items over there on a welcome page template. Okay.
Can I just comment on this banner, just to drive home a point real quick? So the things that Shai's doing is setting the title and subtitle and defining an image, and the welcome banner is building in like the accessibility of the headers, right? Headers have to be sequential, H1, H2, H3, all the way down the page so that a screen reader knows how to read the page. Also, you need to have proper color contrast. So because Shai chose an image that has this darker background, white text was used. If he chooses a lighter shade, then it will switch over to dark background. This component actually is smart enough that if you upload your own image, we grab the background, the background color of that image and apply it over through the text so that you don't have an image behind the text, which wouldn't be accessible. So I'm just trying to explain the point about how accessibility is built into these components, that you don't even really need to consider it. Obviously, in the whole page, if accessibility is a requirement for you with the ADA guidelines, you need to test the whole page, but wherever possible, we try to just build that in.
Right. So that, again, this is one of the great things here. There's a lot of things that you as a developer don't necessarily think of when you're working on an application, and we take care of it behind the scenes for you. So accessibility is one thing, responsiveness is the other thing, of course, bidirectional support and things like that, internalization. And by the way, one of the things I'm going to do throughout my demo is I'm going to hard code titles over here. Of course, if you're targeting an application that is going to run in multiple languages, you should use the translation strings over here and use it that way. And in fact, in our patterns, that's how a lot of the things are actually created by default. Anyway, once you have a template on the page, the template usually would have slots for components and further information. So for example, our welcome page has a place where you can add search components. So if I take an input search component and drop it on the template, I'm going to see the two slots that the template offers. I'm going to use the search slot, and I'm going to put my input search in here. Okay, I'm going to just hook it up to a variable. We'll call this one our search variable. And then over here, I want to show information, for example, on my departments. Okay, so I can take and drop departments, which is one of my business objects, again, onto the template. It would prompt me, where do I want to drop it? I'm going to drop it in the default area this time, which is this area over here. And I'm going to drop it as a list component. Right? And then it's basically, it's regular Visual Builder development. You can choose the specific fields you want to show over here. You can set up, for example, a filter criterion. So for example, look up the department name. It should match my search variable over here, like that. So now I would have this list component over here. Now, again, this list doesn't look like the page that, for example, I saw in my reference app. And as Lynn mentioned, they actually, in that Redwood Reference App, they are using the object card. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually delete those three fields that I have over here. And instead, I'm going to bring in one card component. Okay. And one of the things you'll notice is that the Redwood team has actually created all sorts of cards over here. Lynn talked about the object card. I'm going to just show you another type of card that we have, which is the mini card, which I'm going to bring into my list item and put it over here. Actually, if I'm using a list with cards, I should set the list display type to be cards, and then it looks like this. And as you can see, the mini card component has a bunch of properties. It has a primary text and a secondary text, and I can just tie those into my department name, and the secondary text can go, for example, into my location, and I have it like that. You can also add badges to mini cards. You can also add avatar. Okay, so if you click over here, you can have a source for the image. So I don't actually have any images for each one of those departments, but one of the things you can do in an avatar is if you don't have an image, you can show kind of initials. So we can actually take, for example, the department name, put it here, okay? And instead of showing like the full name, you can, of course, use JavaScript and do like the first two letters of a department can show up over here. Okay, so you have this kind of avatar. Another thing you can have here is you can have a navigation action for each one of those cards. Okay, so for example, I can add a more info navigation, and you have this little component here or little hyperlink, and if you click on it, you can do something. Okay, do a navigation to another page, for example, to get information about this. Now, the other thing that our components have beyond properties is they have built-in events. So if I still on the mini card, if I go into events and I click new event, you would see that this component has two built-in events. One of them is the navigation action. So what happens if I click more info? The other one is the detail action, which is when I actually click the card itself, which is the one I'm going to use over here. And then I'm just using, again, regular Visual Builder, and I'm going to, for example, assign a variable. Okay, so we're going to keep track at our flow level of the selected department, like that. And we're going to assign the key of the department over here. Okay, and then once someone selects a department, we're going to want to show the employees in this department. So we're going to navigate to a new page. We'll call this one the employees page. Okay, and then we can go over and design our next page. Okay, so the employee page is a page that is supposed to show us data about employees. One of the templates that we can use here is called the general overview page. Okay, and again, you will see in some cases templates and also patterns. I'm going to show you a pattern later on. I'm going to start just working with a template. And again, template would have a bunch of properties that you can set. For example, the page title. So we'll call this one employees. Okay, subtitle, employees in the department. Okay, and then you can also have this look and feel can be either mixed or light. And this is where you can actually see the accessibility aspect here. If we are mixed, then the color of the lettering is white. If we're light, it's actually dark. Okay. You can also add, for example, a back navigation. So this would be this little arrow here, and it's a very simple matter of just clicking this property and get it to show up here. You can also have a primary action. Okay, so this is kind of something that you can, like an action at the page level that you can add here. And I'm going to just add like the ability to create a new employee. Okay? And again, you can control what's going to be written on this button. You can also add an avatar over here, again, to have like a little image representing whatever this page is about. Okay. So what we wanted to show here is we actually wanted to show the employees. So we're going to bring in employees, drop it on the main slot over here. I'm going to use a table, even though Lynn usually likes to use lists over there. Let's actually move so the picture is at the beginning, and we'll show a picture, name, and let's say the email of someone over here. Okay. And we'll probably want to show the picture as an image. Click next, and we can filter this again, for example, using the department, and needs to be equal to whatever was the selected department. So that was the flow level. And sorry if they had selected, yeah, a selected department. All right. So this would give me the list of employees in this way. And again, regular Visual Builder development, you can pick up, instead of this little image, we like to use avatars. So bring in an avatar component, put it here, and hook it up to the picture of the employee, and you can remove the little image. Okay. So now we have this little list of employees. And of course, at any point of time, you can hit the run button and see your application running over here. So we have the welcome page. We get the list of department. We can do a little search for a specific department. And then when we click on this department, we'll go to the page that shows us the employees in that department. Okay. So that's kind of two of the templates. Now let's handle this new hire button over here. Okay. So the new hire is a button that is actually part of the template. So if you look at my page structure, all I added was a table. Everything else is in the template. And if I want to handle what happens on this button, as we said, this is the primary action. Okay. And in the template itself, we're going to have an event for the primary action. You can also see that the template itself can have a back navigation, which is the arrow that we added here, and a secondary action if we want to. So those are the built-in actions in this template. For the primary action, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to a new page where we're going to be able to create new employees. Okay, so we'll do a new page, and we'll call this one the new employee page, which will allow us to use another page template. Let's also, while we're here on this page, we're going to, again, on this template, we're going to add an event for the flow back. What do we want to do when we hit the back button? We want to navigate to the page where we started, which was the main start. Okay. All right, so now we have those two events over here. Let's switch over again to the new AMP navigation, and we'll go to this page. So on this page, again, another page template that we can start with for cases where you need to create or insert or edit basically records. We have a simple create and edit template. We also have an advanced create and edit template. We're going to keep things simple right now. So we're going to bring in the simple create and edit page template. We'll call this one the new hire page. Fill out employee info. Okay, can do it as a mix. Okay, we can use a show go to parent that would allow us to navigate back to the parent page if we want to. Again, we have a primary action. The default primary action, because this is a create and edit, would be a submit. Okay, if you don't like submit as the name, you can have it as save. You also have a cancel option over here. And then what we want to do here is we want to basically, again, take the employees, and this time we're dropping it into the main slot as a create form. Okay, so this would allow us to create a new employee, put him in a specific department, and again, very simple Visual Builder development setup for your needs. By the way, you don't need this save button anymore, so you can actually remove it. Can actually remove this whole grid row, because we're going to use this save button up here, which is the one that comes with the template. But we need to tell it what to do, right? So again, we click on the template, click the events. There's the primary action, which we called it save. And over here, we're going to call an action chain that would save the employee. And again, this action chain was created for me by using this drag and drop of the employees and creating the create form. All I need to pass to it is the employees object, and this will create a new employee. Okay, so if we run our little application right now, we can basically start from the home page, our welcome page, look up a department, all the department that has sale, S in it, for example, then click, for example, on sales to go into the sales department, and then click to get a new hire, which would take us into the new hire page. And over here, we can put in information about the new hire. Okay. And click save would actually save the data. Now, of course, one of the things you might want to do is also when you save the data, you might want to navigate back into the main page, right? So after the collection over here, you can also do a navigate that would basically navigate back to our employees page. Okay, so this is this page. Let's do one more thing, and we'll show you also how to use a pattern, so not just a template. Okay, so on these employees, we get some basic information about an employee over here. Maybe we want to be able to get more information. So we can pick up a hyperlink, drop it on the name of the employee, and then allow you to click on this hyperlink, okay, and go to a page where you can get more information. So again, we're going to use a navigate operation over here, and we're going to create another new page. This would be the AMP info page. Okay, let's go to this page. So again, we're starting with a blank page. This time I'm going to use the fold out layout, which is again a pattern that you saw in the Redwood Reference App. You're also, if you're using, for example, HCM and the connection app, it's used over there. Again, we have the layout, and we also have the complete pattern. So this is a template with a pattern for an horizontal fold out. So when I bring it over, not only do you see the template on the page and the specific look and feel and the attributes, what you would notice is that my page that was empty until a minute ago now has 12 variables, 4 event listeners, and 5 actions already created for me. So we're doing much more than just the layout of the page. We're actually controlling functionality in the page. If you look at the variables, you would see some things that are trivial to understand, like the page title. So this would be the title of the page. So we can call this one, for example, AMP info. Okay. Again, this can be, by the way, an input variable that you can set as something that you pass into this page. Okay. Then there are titles for the 2 panels that were created here. So we can call it a basic info, and the second panel can be our image. Okay. Then there are some more advanced variables over here. For example, there's a variable here called row index. And if you look at the row index, this one is already set as an input variable, okay, that is passed on the URL. Why? The pattern that we're doing here is showing more information about an object. That's what the fold out layout is all about, right? So it makes sense that we're looking at a specific object, and therefore we need to know what object this is. Most of those pages would accept an input variable, which is which specific ID of a record we want to show here. So this is a variable we created for you. Another variable that we have here is the go to parent. This is a Boolean variable that controls whether you want to have this little icon over there that allows you to go to the parent page. This is this little thing here. We have another variable that allows you to control those little arrows over here that allows you to kind of drill down further. Okay, so you can also control those with a Boolean variable. Okay, so all of those things allow you to kind of configure not just the look and feel of the page, but also the behavior of the page. Okay, so now let's get some data into this page. Again, very simple. We're going to drag the employees' information into this slot over here, drop it as a detail form. So detail form is kind of a read-only form. Pick up the fields we want to show. Pick up most of the fields over here, like that, and just arrange them on the page any way we want it to be. Okay. Now we need an employee ID, right? which employee are we going to show? And this is the nice thing about our pattern. There's already a variable for this. So we can just drag and drop it and map the row index over here. Okay. Now, because this variable exists, the page that calls this page, okay, so the employees page, we add this link. This link has this navigate. It now has all those input variables. So from the employees page, when I call the employee info, I need to pass in a row index. So the row index would be the key of the employee that I was on. I can also pass the parent page, which would allow me to navigate back to the parent page, right? So we are on the employees page. So we'll just type in employees. I can say whether the Go parent should show up, whether the bidirectional show up. So let's say bidirectional, I don't want to show it. We'll set it to false. Okay. So by doing those type of things, when I do a navigation about a specific employee here, I now get this set of information about Jane over here, and the parent page, if I click on it, I go back to the page I was on before. Okay, so all of this is already hooked up for me because I'm using the pattern. Now I can go further and start designing my page further. For example, again, we'll use an avatar section over here to show, let's put an extra large orange circle that shows us the employee's image, right? Their picture, like that. Okay, so we can see this. Now, again, if you look at the template that we use here, okay, the pattern is actually constructed of multiple components, Redwood components. One of those components is called the fold out panel. So we have two of those over here, and I can bring in a third. So I can, if I look up in my Redwood components, there's this fold out panel, and I can just bring it and drop it inside my fold out layout. Okay. Sorry. Like that. Yeah. See? Oh, not layout, sorry, fold out panel. Should work. Put it here. There you go. So now I have it on the first thing. Of course, I can start to rearrange things or move things around. Let's move it so it would actually be the third panel. Okay. So again, fold out panel, just like any Redwood component, a bunch of properties that I can set, like the title. So work info, for example. Okay. And then I can drop things over here. So again, all the regular forms components. So for form layout, for example, I can put it inside here. Okay. Use a wizard or a quick start to set it up, or because I already have a bunch of fields here, I can just shuttle some of the fields from our first section. So let's say from the salary, all of those fields, we're going to move them into this form. Okay. Now I want them to look like the first form. So let's set this form to be read only. And then it looks like the first page. Okay, so now I have this part of the page done. All right, so now let's run our little application and just see it end to end. We can basically start with the welcome page, click on a department to get the information about the employees. We get this nice little layout over here. We can click on Shelly to get Shelly's information in a fold out way. We can click over here to navigate back to the parent. Then we can click to add a new hire employee. Fill out some information. We don't have a picture for Joe right now, but that's fine. And put him in the IT department. Click save. This would save the data and navigate back so we can see Joe over here. Okay. So this is how simple it is to construct an application that looks and behaves like any of the Oracle Redwood-based application, implementing all our best practices, implementing a lot of responsive behaviors over here. So for example, again, if we'll go over and click on Chris, and we would look at this page in kind of a mobile size, the fold out works vertically. Okay. The navigation basically removes the, or like the title, we remove the little description here to save more space, right? And those are kind of things that we're doing out of the box for you with the Redwood components. So we showed you a demo of how to develop with those. There's a lot more that you can learn about those components. A few things that I wanted to point out in terms of places where you can learn more stuff. On the Oracle Live Labs website, if you're not familiar with this website, it's a website where we publish a lot of hands-on labs for people to work on and learn Oracle technologies. You can just Google Oracle Live Labs. If you search for the word Redwood in there, you would see a full hands-on lab on developing with Redwood components. It's using the accounts object in Oracle SAS and shows you how to build an app UI extensions that builds a full Redwood type of application using components, patterns, composite components, and templates. We also, of course, are publishing blogs on the blogs.oracle.com/VBCS blog site. We already have 2 blogs showing how to build an app UI and how to work with the starter application templates, and more blogs are in our pipeline to show you more functionality on how to use and develop with Redwood. Of course, there's the redwood.oracle.com site, and we encourage you to go over there to learn about everything from the philosophy behind Redwood to how you use specific components, see examples. Our Redwood Reference App is also linked from there. So visit that site and check out the site itself and how it implements Redwood on its own. Everything, of course, is also inside our documentation. So at docs.oracle.com. We have the forums on Cloud Customer Connect, where you can ask any technical question. You can ask questions, by the way, in the Visual Builder forum. We also have 2 new forums under the Oracle application platform that are dedicated for Redwood specifically. There's a Redwood build and there's a Redwood design. So your designers would probably want to ask questions on the design forum, and the developers can use the Redwood build forum to ask questions over there. And again, our blog, we would keep posting new information, new how-tos over there for you to learn. If you're not already on LinkedIn and you have a profile there, we would love it if you would join our Visual Builder group over there. So just Google, not Google, in LinkedIn, do a search for Visual Builder. There's a group called Visual Builder. You can join this group. On this group, we publish about every new blogs that we create, every new event, every one of those seminars, every news item that is worthwhile sharing. And we're also seeing a lot of people from the community contributing and sharing their information over there. So we would love to have you over there also helping and sharing information. That's kind of what we wanted to cover today. Let's see if we have some open questions that we want to answer. Yeah. Okay.
We do. We've been trying our best.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions. So I'm not sure we'll have. Okay.
Yeah.
So versions of the components. Right now we have the 2207 version out there on the public exchange. We're working on getting the newer versions out there. You would basically see Redwood versions that kind of match the versions of Visual Builder and Jet runtimes. We're right now in a little delay because of the Oracle legal department, which is part of the company we don't want to mess with. So we're just clearing some things with them. You're going to see a newer version of the components showing up pretty soon over there.
But if they have upgraded to VB 2301, they should still be able to use 2207.
Yeah. So the 2207 component work with the latest 2301 Jet components. Everything works there just fine. So that would be okay. Just wanted to show one more thing because I didn't actually show it. If you have Visual Builder in your environment and you go over and you create new, okay, if you click change template, you would see the Redwood starter application template over here. And that should show up. in every Visual Builder or Oracle Integration Cloud instance, just click again ORM new and then change template, and then the template would be here. Even if you don't have this template, it's very easy to add the Redwood components into your existing pages. It's just a little change in our JSON, the application JSON file. I can actually show you that over here. If you look at your application source, in your AppFlow.js, you're going to have this entry, and this entry is dependent on an entry that we do over on the required JS to add the specific the specific pointer over here. So this is covered again in our build forum. You can find it over there. Or again, if you have any questions, technical questions, we can answer those later on.
I just wanted to, oh yeah, if
go
you're
ahead.
Cherry picking or, okay. I just wanted to say on the rock, hi, first of all, hi, Peter Galetsky. I just want to say on the rock, there's a page called Welcome to the Redwood Pattern Book. And especially for yourself, your question, and also someone who's asking about moving an existing app from Alta to Redwood, there's not a lift and shift. You can't apply a style sheet and say it's Redwood. It's really this movement of really trying to design for the user's goals. And so if you go into that Redwood pattern book, there are descriptions, even us non-designer folks can kind of understand, like, what's the user's goal? Are they trying to search? Are they trying to view a dashboard? Are they just trying to create objects? And you can go through and really learn more about those different patterns, and they relate one-to-one with the patterns that you see in the VB component palette here. We're going to post this recording, Shai. I'm sure you've got lots of places to post it, but we will for sure also post it on the Cloud Customer Connect site that you mentioned, the develop site. So stay tuned there. Yeah,
there's a bunch of questions over here which are generic Visual Builder questions on security and backup and stuff like that. Those are not for this seminar. We would be happy to answer those on the Customer Connect forum, so feel free to post them over there and we'll answer those over there.
There's also a VB Studio learning path linked from the rock that has a whole bunch of links to training and online resources that might be helpful.
Yeah, and again, what we showed here today is the Redwood UI, the components. We explained about the philosophy, why we did it, and we showed you how to use it to build VB-based apps. This is not tied to a specific set of data. You can build apps with Redwood on top of any source of data. I just built on a bunch of business objects that I have here. Our developers inside Oracle are building it on the Fusion SaaS application and the data over there. And because Visual Builder allows you to access any REST data source, you can build it on any backend, basically. This is purely a UI aspect here that can be used by you to create a much better looking and behaving application with a lot of functionality built in. Right, I'm seeing I'm just doing a time check. We're basically at the hour right now. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Again, if you have any follow-up question, feel free to post them on our Customer Connect forum or our LinkedIn group, and we'll be happy to answer those over there. Thanks for joining us today, and we're looking forward to seeing your Redwood applications coming out soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.